Oh, it's live. Okay. Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, so today I see that they made some changes to YouTube. Anyway, so today I wanted to speak about this young lady. Her name is, hold on, I don't like the 1 second. I hope I can fix the lighting because the lighting is terrible. Okay. Oh, I finally got my live chat up. Okay, so today I wanted to speak about really quickly the young, very brave young woman called Audrey Stevenson. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a young girl. She, went into the churches, and I'm not going to lie, the churches are good for something. Although I don't follow religion anymore, they are good for something. They're good for when people need a change in their life. They're good at reprogramming people to change their lifestyle to a healthier lifestyle. But one thing we cannot deny is that within these churches, the toxic levels of abuse that occur inside of these institutions. And the other thing is that because church religious doctrine says you have to separate yourself from the world, and the government is considered Babylon and the world, when systemic abuses occur in the church, 99% of these matters are legal, criminal matters. Because church doctrine says that you have to separate yourself from the state and separate yourself from the world, and that includes government, a lot of criminal matters, which should be prosecuted by the state, they get buried because the church believes it's a church issue. And a result of that is high level of pure and utter toxicity. Now, this young girl, Audrey Stevenson, and what I love about this young generation, even though, this young generation, you wonder sometimes, like, that's your taste in music? Okay. What I love about this young girl is that she recognized, and what I love about this young generation is that they're a camera generation. Okay, that could be a good thing and a bad thing. They're a very camera-oriented generation. Like, they will quickly pull a camera on you. Okay, and I'm glad she did that in this instance because it saved her life. She was up and coming, kind of like myself. She was up and coming, doing a good job inside of the church. And I always, if you look at my videos, I tell you that I knew, because I went to that business meeting, now it's about 17 years ago, I knew I was under surveillance because of a business meeting. But I wasn't abused and blacklisted. You see the difference? Until I went into the church. So I could say with authority that I was thrown into this program because of these church demons. Now, this young lady was in charge of some greeting ministry. And what happened? The same exact template of what happened to me is the same exact template of what happened to her. For my instance, it was singing. Okay, and those of you who've watched my videos understand where I'm coming from. My story was, there were people in the church who liked my voice and decided, hey, if you want to sing in the choir, you got to sleep with us. And I was just like, that looks like blackmail. You know what I mean? I was just kind of like, I'm not saying I'm holier than thou. Look, if you want to sleep together head, that's your damn business. But for me, I was just like, I'm not going to, because something about that just doesn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? Like, in the back of my mind, it's always like, is someone using this to try to like trap me? And because I wouldn't do it, I ended up in the targeting. I was beyond abused, okay? Sexually assaulted by police, thrown into nut houses, stalked by police. They got the feds involved. I was just like, whoa, what the hell is this? But luckily, this young woman was astute enough to recognize that there were people in ministry who were elders who had power issues, okay? Not everyone needs to have positions of power, okay? And the problem in the church is this. Power is not given according to character. It's given according to anointing. Power is not given according to resume. It's given according to God's vision. Whatever criteria is that. And that criteria leads to abuse. It leads to abuse. And in this instance, you could go look at the video, the young lady, Audrey Stevenson. Look at the video. In the video, because she was doing a good job, some woman became jealous, same case, and began to start a whispering or slander campaign against the woman. So much so, they started to call out and say, oh, the type of underwear she was wearing. And I know, because I've been through that slander campaign. And let me tell you, when you get hit with that slander campaign, at first you laugh it off because you're like, no one's going to believe it. But these slanderers have a way of getting people to believe them. And I don't know if the slander plays on some type of emotional need that the person has that causes massive groups of people to believe them. Or I can't explain why it is slander is so successful. So they started this slander campaign against the young woman. And she's a cute little young girl. She's cute body, cute little young girl, you know, she's cute. And you could tell that she has this sweet, charismatic type personality, you know, because I watched her and I listened to her. But unfortunately, she's under religious delusion. This is just my opinion, okay? And they started a slander campaign talking about her underwear. She had the wrong type of underwear for, and that's the slander, the religious slander. It is the most, I'm like, how did you see a young woman's underwear? Like, what? Like, how do you? So they started the slander campaign. Then, after they got the slander campaign, which you know is going to get, it's very emotional, the slander campaign. So when you're talking about a young girl and you say, and you attack something like the kind of underwear she wears, what does that do for married women inside of the church? Look up at the emotionality of the type of slander. When you spread this kind of slander in the church, what does it do for marriages in the churches or in groups of people where people are having problems in their marriage? So what you do is you play on the emotionality of the women in the church. So naturally, if a woman is working to keep her marriage together because she's dealing with some type of issue with her husband, she is going to become what? Defensive. She's going to become what? An isolationist. She's going to want to attack this woman, push this young girl out. So that's the first thing they did. Then the second thing they did was they attacked because the young woman suffered with depression. The second thing they did was they twisted the young girl's depression, which is a medical issue. This is why when you go into these churches, you do not tell these people what your emotional and medical and private issue is not a church matter. It is a medical matter. It is a medical matter. Why is it a medical matter? There are HIPAA laws to protect you. When you go into these churches and you tell them your medical history, you're not under protection of HIPAA. They're not doctors. Okay? So they took the young girl's depression. Worst of all, you start a slander campaign against someone who's struggling with depression. What is that going to do to them? So they began spreading that she's bipolar. And why am I talking about this? Because I understand what they tried to do to Audrey Stevenson by giving her that public projection as an unstable person. because the first phase of attack is slander. The second phase is to weaken the person's character publicly. When they successfully weaken the person's character, they can get mass amounts of mind control drones to verbally and physically side with the attackers and abuse the person. When a person is going through depression, you have to be careful what you say about people. You have to be sensitive about what you say about people. If they confide something in you, whether you're a so-called spiritual person or you're a medical person, especially if someone is suffering with depression, you do not verbally abuse this person. When someone is going through the depression, or they have any sort of depression, you have to be very sensitive to their emotional state, because depending on the level of depression that this person is going through, you can cause this person to commit suicide, or you can cause this person to commit an act against someone because they're going through some sort of chemical imbalance or some sort of medical issue. So the second phase of the attack that they launched against this Audrey, was to publicly say she was bipolar. These are, I know them all too well because I know what they did to me. And I am so glad that this young woman recognized what they were doing early and began to film. Everyone go look up Audrey Stevenson. Okay, I'm going to write her name down. Audrey Stevenson from the Potter's house. Okay, I call it the Potsherd house. Okay, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, right? Okay, so YouTube that information and you're going to hear and you're going to see the video. So when that didn't work, okay, her job was, because of the type of personality she had, they said, this girl is going to be great for greeting people, because you could see the girl has a beautiful, radiant type of personality, which is excellent for customer service. And I personally think, this is my opinion about what I see for this young girl's life, I think she should ditch the church altogether. And with her kind of personality, I would go back to school. I would become a customer service expert. And this young lady, with the type of personality that she has, clean up her act, maybe, get on some sort of exercise regimen, make herself look presentable. If I were this young lady, if I were her, I would really go back to school, forget all the religious nonsense, go back to school, get certified in customer service management. Okay, you got to see the young lady. With a little bit of speaking, a little bit of work, a little bit of presentation, this girl could be making companies a lot of money, because look at her on stage. She has a natural personality for people. And that young lady could make companies a lot of money selling their products. Okay? All she needs is a little bit, get her head out of that Bible and get her head into some college textbooks and get a degree behind her name, and she could make companies. I mean, this young woman has the gift of selling an Arab sand in the desert. Okay? She has that kind of personality. But her head is stuck in a Bible. Whatever. So she was in charge of the greeting ministry, and you got to see the video where she's on stage and she's greeting people and she's getting them like revved up. And I'm like, okay, I said, this girl really, there's something to her. So the religious cheetah hoodies ganged up on her and cornered her while the service was going on. In the video, you mean to tell me a 5'2" woman, and I know how this works because they did it to me. They pulled her into a room and said to her, from today, you are not allowed to go on stage to do your ministry. And the woman, and she's like, but ma'am, I spoke to the pastor's wife and she said it's okay. So the woman gets angry and says, no, from today, you don't speak to the pastor's wife, you speak to me. I'm the administrator. And she's like, but it's not your church. She didn't say that, but it was kind of like, it's not your church. I got permission from the pastor's wife, and she's like, I can do this. And the lady just didn't want to hear it. And she was addressing the woman in a very respectable manner. And the woman was basically saying she was belligerent. I mean, she captured all of this on video. This is why I like this generation. Because since I've been church abused, and I'm a victim of church abuse, and I'm not even going to lie, I will never commit physical violence. Never. It's not my style. I'm just not like that. But boy, am I going to let you have it verbally from sun up to sundown for what you did to me. I am not a physical violence kind of person. That's not my style. But you're going to hear it from sun up to sundown about what you did for me, child. So the young lady was so respectful. She was so respectful. And you could tell that there was more to the story about why this woman didn't want her in the pulpit. And it had nothing to do with anything this young girl did. Immediately I said, this has to do with jealousy. I wonder what's up with this story. What really was the preceding interactions that took place that led to this, you know? Anyway, so you go on. The young lady's like, look, this is a spiritual matter. I'm trying to address you respectfully. You don't want to hear it. Stop telling me that I'm lying, because I'm not lying. I did speak to the pastor's wife. Why can't I do what they want me to do? You're not the pastor's wife. You don't make those decisions. They got the security guard, the guy was literally like 400 pounds, a 400-pound man, to body slam a 5'2" young woman. You see her with the camera and you see her head literally hit the ground inside of a church, people. Okay, inside of a church. You see her head hit the ground. And this 400-pound man was sitting on top of a 5'2" young woman. And why does this emotionally make me happy on one side and enraged on the other? It makes me happy because the young woman was so smart. She recognized that there is no depth to what these people would do to her. And she kept a recording device on her person at all times. Lesson number 1. When you're dealing with public snakes, when you are dealing, whether it's religious snakes, whether it's work-related snakes, whether it's education snakes, whenever you're dealing with snakes in the public, not everyone in the public is a snake, but we know how this program works, snakes. When you're dealing with public snakes, you got to have some sort of device that will protect you to validate your side of the story. Because the difference between her and myself, when I was sexually assaulted at the behest of that elder in Times Square Church, okay, I was not astute enough to keep a recording device. Okay, but she did. What enrages me about this is for years I have been warning people, be careful with these churches. There are people in these churches that are throwing people into these programs. When the young lady in the video, she said, listen, please just let me go. I want to leave. They handcuffed her. She's like, I didn't commit a crime. Why are you handcuffing me? They did the same to me in Times Square Church. They handcuffed her, and I knew what they were going to do, because the way how the template works is that a group inside of the church forms a coalition. That coalition, whether the head pastor is involved or not, 9 times out of 10, the head pastor is involved. What they do is the first thing they do is they start a slander campaign. Okay, that's the first thing they do. They want people to distrust you. The second thing they do is they mount an attack to permanently get you out of the church. But they do so in a way where they have to get you into and on file in your medical records that you are mentally ill. The young lady kept begging them because she wanted to leave. They handcuffed her and she said, "Why are you trying to lead me outside with handcuffs on?" And I instantly knew what they were doing. I know them. That means they called the paramedics, they called the police, and they called the paramedics, and they labeled her. That's why before this incident, they labeled her insane. Get it? That means that when they handcuffed her and they wanted to lead her outside, it was to get her in the back of an ambulance to take her into the mental health facility. So that way they could have it on her permanent record as someone who is mentally ill. I know how this works. Luckily for me, when the doctors looked at me, the doctor said, "You are not mentally ill." They said, "First of all, you have no business being here." They said, "Look, I think you should sue, but because it's a church, you may not want to." But they said, they looked at me from head to foot. They said, "You're not mentally ill." They said, "This is my advice." The police, and I had good police. I had some evil police officers too. Times Square Church and Brooklyn Tabernacle. And I'm warning you, for those of you who are in New York City, stay away from these two churches. These two churches attack people and throw them into these programs. Okay? I've been warning people in New York about these two churches, and people have not been listening, only to get burned. Okay? They get people in trouble with the government. And listen, the United States is a great, great country. But the thing with the United States is, if you find yourself on the wrong side of the law in this country, good luck getting out. Good luck getting anyone to listen. Good luck getting anyone to believe you. Good luck getting recompense. United States is a great country for self-development and growth. It's a great country for opportunity, great country for self-development, great country for growth. But if you find yourself on the wrong side of the law in this country, it's not the best of country to get due process, unless you're wealthy. It's not. So I've been on a campaign for like 12 years warning people about these two churches and what they do. Anyway, so the young lady, they handcuffed her after they body slammed her to the ground. Thank God this generation records everything. And she got it all on film, and he's sitting on top of her. She has a black eye and bruises all over her body. And luckily for her, she recorded it. They handcuffed her to take her outside. And I already knew what that was about. That was to get an ambulance to take her into a mental institution so they can put on her record. I know how the game is played. They can put on her record that she is mentally ill. That way it can follow her wherever she goes. So they could follow her and stir up trouble wherever she goes, and they will already have in her record she's mentally ill. Luckily for me, the doctors took a look at me and they said, "Child, you're not mentally ill." They said, "Listen, please, we do not want them to do this to you again." What's interesting is I know from those doctors, those churches have a history of doing that. They have a history of setting people up, abusing them, and getting them in trouble with the state. So they said to me, they said, "Look, you're not mentally ill. Do not go back there." I had good police officers who were Catholic. I mean, the Catholics are totally different now. I'm not talking about the Vatican. I'm just talking about regular Catholics. And regular Catholics if I could do religion over again, which I would never do, I would become a Catholic. Because I like the way how the Catholic, you just go in, you get your Jesus, and you go out. But I'm done with religion. But I had some Catholic police officers, because you know the boys in blue, 90% of them are Catholic. I had some good Catholic police officers. They were just like, "Listen, sister, They were like, we are, and these are white guys. I'm black, and these are like white police officers. They were like, listen, we are ashamed of what they're doing to you, and we know you don't deserve this. Please do not go back in there. And they even said to me, like, boys in blue, this is police officers. Guys, look at my color. Okay? For those of you who think all police officers are evil, no, they're not. They said to me, they were like, look, we're Catholics and we are ashamed because they're making our religion look bad. And they just said to me, they said, listen, young lady, don't go back. Before they do worse to you, just don't go back. So I did. I went to another church, and that's when I discovered what they do. They follow you. They follow you. So what's the moral of the story for this young woman? And luckily for this young woman is she has a mother who knows her daughter and knows her daughter's character and is standing with her daughter. My advice, and I hope she gets this video, I messaged her and I told her just a little bit of what they did to me. I didn't go into too much detail. And I just told her, I said, sister, run. I can tell you, for this young woman, if this young woman gets into things like public speaking, she would be amazing because she has a natural magnetism about her. If she gets into customer service, that young lady, I'm telling you, with her type of charisma, okay, she's in the wrong business. She needs to get the hell out of religion and put that gift that she has where she gets people to like interact with her. She needs to let that make money for her. Okay, I'm sure if she gets an education, there'll be companies waiting to hire that young woman. But she has to really get her mind out of religion and get her mind into something that can benefit her. You understand? Not benefit other people who are going to have 400-pound men sit on you and handcuff you and drag you outside and slander you and try to get you messed up with the state with a record saying you're mentally ill. What kind of shit is this? You know? So, long story short, the young girl was so astute. She was so sharp. She was so sharp, this young girl. She knew something was brewing with these people. And she kept a recording device on her person at all times. Because this could have been a totally different story if she did not record what they did to her. And what they did to this young girl, immediately when I saw the video, I was just like, my God, another one. Another one. You know, and the second thing is, I hope she never goes back. Sue the Bible out, sue the crap out of them. Stay the hell away from them. Learn your lesson. Stay away from these people. Get a degree. Go to school and let that gift of, she has a very unique gift of persuasion. Let that gift of persuasion work for you in a way that could benefit you and make money for you. You understand? Not have your gift of persuasion work to make other people rich and then jealous people inside of the church slander you and talk about your underwear. What are you doing inside of the church looking at people's underwear? I mean, who goes to church to watch what underwear a person has? How do you know what underwear a person has on? You know, or like come up with some hocus pocus story that she's mentally ill. Anyway, the point is another body down inside of these religious houses. And I know this is going to be hard for people to stomach, but I'm going to say this. Until the victims of Protestant church abuse, because Christian people like to point at the evils of the Vatican, and Lord knows the Vatican, you know, the Vatican has some going on in it, you know, but at least the Vatican pays the victims. But what I realize is Protestant, that is Pentecostal, Charismatic, Baptist, whatever, they never like to deal with the abuses in the Protestant branch of the church. And they do far more wickedness inside of their institutions and bury it worse than the damn Catholic Church, okay? We know what the Catholic Church does. The Catholic Church abuses little children. We all know that. And they pay, okay? But they do not like to expose the abuses that take place in these Protestant churches. And it's worse than what they do in the Catholic churches, okay? It's worse. People need to start calling them the hell out. Getting online, making videos, and warning people about these people. Okay? At least the government, we know about government corruption because of whistleblowers. Okay? But we don't hear about the systemic abuses that goes on in the Protestant side of the churches because they bury it. People, these are institutions that you're giving billions of dollars a year. That is billions of dollars that are leaving your community and going into the hands of a select few. And you do not hold these people accountable? That's madness. And some of you, you give 10 to 20% of your earning on top of what you have to give to the IRS. That's like 50% of your check. 30 to the IRS and 20 to the church. At least you can hold the IRS accountable. There are government institutions that hold itself accountable. But there's no accountability when you give an additional 10 to 20% of your hard-earned money to churches, and there's no accountability. And on top of that, you get abused. This is madness. We're producing a nation of psychopaths. This is madness. You're giving 20% of your hard-earned income, which goes out of your community, to people where there's no accountability. Do you know how much money a year the churches get? From the black churches alone, it's $400 million a year. Look at the damn state of the black communities. I was saying to myself, I said, if black people, instead of going to the church and giving them 10 to 20% of their hard earnings, you could take that 10% of your income and put it in a community trust with a goal at the end of the year of buying up all the properties in your community. Think about what would happen to the black community if 10 to 20% of your earnings every week, bi-weekly, or every month goes into a community trust with the goal of buying up your community or putting in businesses in your community. That's $400 million a year that's going out of your community into the hands of a select few with no accountability. Okay? But to do that, that means you have to accept responsibility. You know what I mean? It's so easy to do it the easy way where you don't have to accept responsibility and you can always point a finger when things go wrong. But when you have to take it into your own hands, where you have to be accountable for the 10 to 20% that you're putting into that trust for yourself, and you could take that money and buy up all the low value houses in your community and put jobs in your community with the 400 million going out. That's a different story, right? The point is, more victims of church abuse need to come forward. I'm going to say it again. More victims of church abuse need to come forward. I'm going to say it again. More victims of church abuse need to come forward. For 12 years, they cost me 12 years of my life. And I made a decision. I said, I don't care who doesn't believe me. When I'm done screaming at what they did to you, are not going to abuse me and get away with it. When I'm done screaming, something's going to change because they're not going to hear the end of me for what they did to me. You are not going to abuse me and I shut up. More victims of church abuse need to come forward. Abuse is not a private church issue. When you abuse people and it systematically gets covered up, you are creating generational psychopaths. You are creating generational psychopaths who will go on abusing people. You are creating institutional abuse. And it will not stop because, as the saying goes, monkey see, monkey do, right? You know monkeys, they like to imitate. When a person sees that people in positions of power can abuse and get away with it, what do you think they're going to be inclined to do? Two things, either shut up or abuse too. More victims of church abuse need to come forward. You got YouTube. No one says you have to put your face on YouTube, but you can upload videos telling your story of church abuse and no one needs to see your face. It could just be audio. Come forward. Name the culprits. Stop keeping them. Stop protecting these predators. Stop protecting these church predators. How many of your children have been sexually abused inside of, and I'm not talking about the Catholic Church. How many of your children have been victims of predators inside of these Protestant branches? How many young women have been victimized inside of these churches? I was one. How many of young men have been victimized inside of these churches? And the reason why it perpetuates is because touch not God's anointed. Bullshit. Come out. The only way to put a stop to it is to come out and call it for what it is. And when the church zombies come after you, because they came after me, I curse them all out and send them all back to hell. I said, because you're not going to get me, no way, no how to shut the hell up. Not after what you did to me. The whole world is going to know what you did to me. Okay? Stop letting these pastors abuse you. Take control of your money. Give the IRS their 30%. The IRS is God on earth. Okay? You can't rob the IRS and get away with it. Give the IRS 30%. Your 10% or 20% tithe, that needs to work for you. You cannot have $400 million going out of your community and you catching your ass to pay your light bill. What kind of common sense is this? How do you have 400 million leaving your communities and you're catching your ass to pay your light bill? And then you say the Lord will provide. He did provide. He did provide. You're giving it away. 400 million leaves your community every year. You don't have money to pay your light bill. You got to go back to your community and dodge bullets while your pastor lives in a freaking 10-bedroom house and drives 10 cars and have 8 bodyguards. You got to dodge bullets when you go back, and then you say the Lord will provide. Then you look at the video with this girl and she's like, Jesus, step in. Where was Jesus when the 400-pound man was sitting on you? Get some common sense, people. Speak out. Do not let people abuse you and think they can get away with it. Am I saying it was easy for me when I spoke out? No, but I realized when I stayed quiet, because I was under that mind control, I was like, no, you know what? I should keep it to myself because this is a man of God and I don't want to make him look bad. Meanwhile, the same man of God was dragging me through the mud and I couldn't find work for like 10 years. I kid you not. Meanwhile, the same man of God got into his pulpit and said, I did this to you. What are you going to do about it? Ha ha! I got you in trouble with the feds. What are you going to do about it? Ha ha ha! I got you in trouble with the United Nations. Like, who wants to get in trouble with the UN? Ha ha ha! What are you going to do about it? And this was the man, my brain mind control program, religious zombie mind, was like, no, don't get the man of God in trouble. When I broke out of the religious zombified mind control, I said, I am going to rip you to shreds. Okay? And I let that two-legged snake, Jim the Snake, Chitahuri, Simbola, I let him have it. And let me tell you, did people believe me in the beginning? Nope. But I've been telling the same story. And now people are beginning to wake up. Let me tell you what his church did. So I went back to check this board of all the victims he abused over the years. And just recently, there was a small church that he sent one of his secret agents into, his son-in-law. And the church discovered all of a sudden, for the first time in the history of this small church, that the tithes were like short. They were like, what's going on? So they checked the security cameras and they saw his son-in-law stealing the tithes. The snake got the DA to reduce the charges of his snake son so the son wouldn't have to go to jail for stealing the tithe money. So the church was like, listen, if this man could, send someone in to steal the tithe money, we need to have an audit of our finances. This is a legend. It so happens that when they audited down their finances, they discovered that the so-called pastor was trying to seize their 14 million in assets. I said to myself, didn't you people in New York City hear of what? I said, everyone in New York City knows what these two churches did to me and the kind of trouble they got me into, all because of jealousy, like Audrey. I said, haven't you heard me warning you about how dangerous this man is? If you let him anywhere near you, the kind of trouble this man could get you into? Didn't you hear me warn you, guys in New York, the kind of trouble if you let this man and his band of operatives get you anywhere close to anything that has value? They woke up and did a financial audit and discovered that they were in the process of stealing the church's 14 million debt-free assets out from under them. I said, you know what? It reminds me of the old saying that they say in the Caribbean, who do hear does feel, to translate, if you're not willing to listen when someone gives you wisdom, you feel. You understand? My advice to you guys and my advice to Audrey, and I hope this video meets her. I know them like the back of my hand. Any apology, and to this day, I've never gotten an apology from these church zombies. Oh, and even when I left the country and went to another country, this man followed me. He followed me. He followed me. And the first thing he did was call a meeting of the politicians and all the church leaders. And luckily for me, there were some good people who were like, hey, listen, because they knew what he did to me. They were like, listen, that man is in the country. You better make sure you know what he's up here doing. And I was like, he's in the country? What is he doing here? He's never been to this country in 30 years. And let me tell you what happened in that meeting. So I went into the middle of the meeting he was having. It was about, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people. And one of the security, I watched as one of the security whispered to him and said, she's here. And he pointed to me. And when he saw me, he was like, so I waited until he got into the pulpit. And when he got into the pulpit, I gave him a piece of my mind in front of those 2,000 people because they all knew what he did to me, but they chose to side with him. And I left him speechless in that pulpit. I said, you're not going to come here to do wickedness to me. You've done enough to damage my life and my reputation. What's the point to Audrey? You're a very special young woman. Before they throw you into this program, young lady, before they throw you into this program of which there is no recourse, I don't know what the hell these mega churches are into. I don't know what kind of backdoor deals they're into to get money and they're into to grow their flocks. But I'll tell you this, it is not God and it's not Jesus. Okay? Before they throw you into this program, young lady, get a lawyer, sue the shit out of them. Get yourself a degree and go on. Get your head out of that Bible and go on to live a productive life where you can work in a company, you can help be a constructive worker in the company, and they can pay you for your gift. Get your head out of that anointing and Jesus and all that garbage. Get your head grounded in a book. Learn a discipline. And I think she'll be great for customer service management. You can become a customer service management specialist. You could become a social media specialist. You could do anything that has to do with sales. You could become a sales representative. You can go into marketing. That'd be a great field for this young woman because she's gifted like that. Get your head out of the Bible. Get your head into a book. Get a degree. Get certified in something. Okay? And work for an institution that will pay you a good salary for your gift, and not a church that is going to beat the crap out of you because you have that gift. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. I hope this day and I hope this message reaches you. I hope it brings some understanding. I don't hate Christians, but I need to let them know Christianity is wicked. Okay, there are wicked people in that religion, and people need to know that a lot of victims and a lot of you Christians are in this program because of your churches. It's up to you to see it for what it is. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Guys, like this video, share this video, and I want this young woman, Audrey Stevenson, because I messaged her and I told her, I know the program. I've been through it. Let this video get to her. Have a wonderful day, okay? Peace out.